welcome back to the studio. Today's tutorial we will be making a polo poncho using the hero of this story, this gorgeous yarn called Diablo print from Hobbii. We are not going to be making this with this yarn on its own because look at how thin this is. Super thin. However, if you have amazing eyesight and you're able to use this on its own, go for it. You'll need way more yarn than what we have here today, if that's what you would like to do. But what I'm going to be doing is blending this yarn with an acrylic. So this is from Hobbii again, and it is a Black Friday yarn I got several years ago, and it's just been waiting there for something exquisite to be made from it, which hopefully we will do today. This is a 4mm hook yarn blended with this yarn here, and it will make a very beautiful, soft, cozy poncho. This is 100% acrylic. Don't know, you can't get it with this label anymore, but whether you can still get this color, check out Hobbii's website. This one here is Diablo print. It is 30% mohair, 30% nylon and 40% acrylic. Many different colors, so you can have many different options if you like. So you could blend this with a mustard color or a red, or if you delve deep in here you'll see there's also a white. So you could blend this with any color of yarn that you'd like, even a completely contrasting color. But I am going to do this red because I had it available and I think it matches beautifully with this, and we'll see what exciting colors it'll bring out when it is made up. You will need 3 balls of the acrylic, 4 balls of the Diablo print. They do Diablo with just a plain color if you would like just a plain color as well. It is slightly cheaper too, the plain color. You'll also need a 7mm hook. This is my Furls 7mm hook. Also some stitch markers, yarn needle, and of course your scissors. Let's get this project started. Once you have got your 2 yarns, put them together and leave yourself a bit of a tail, because that's what we'll sew up the side with later on. Do yourself a slip knot. Get your 7mm hook. And you want to chain 50 stitches. Once you have your chain of 50, you need to then chain an extra 1, and then we are going to be turning our work upside down. So you'll see the V's are at the front there, and you want to put your stitches in the back here. So not the V's at the front, but the loops at the back. And we're going to be working half double crochet. So yarn over, miss that chain that you did, that extra 1, go to the next stitch, go into the back of that stitch, into that loop, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. So yarn over, into that loop there, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, into that loop, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And keep doing this for all the 50 stitches that you have in your chain until you get to the end. Now obviously making sure that you keep both of your strands together and that you don't miss one. If you do, just go back, pick it up and repeat your stitches again. I will meet you at the end of this row. at the end of that row, which is row 1, chain 1, turn your work, and we're continuing with the half double crochet in the top of every stitch. So yarn over, and you'll see that you've got that gap at the top of the stitch, and that's where you're working your stitches into. So that stitch there, there's the gap, work your stitch into there. And you will be doing 70 stitches, sorry, 70 rows. Miss the bit, so just make sure you're picking up both of your yarns. So you'll be working 70 rows, and this is where the stitch marker comes in, because I do 10 rows and put a stitch marker at my 10th row. Continue on, another 10 rows, stitch marker, another 10 rows, stitch marker, and then I can just count my 10s, 10, 20, 30, 40, instead of constantly counting all 70 rows to know I've got up to 70. Okay, so continue doing these rows for your 70 rows, remembering that you do a chain stitch at the end of every row, and your first stitch goes into the first stitch of the row, and it is as simple as that. So work your 70 rows, and I will meet you back here and show you what you need to do next after you've got your 70 rows completed. Just jumping in here to show you the end of the row again. So yarn over, go into that last stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook, chain 1, turn your work, and go into that first stitch there. Do not miss it. Okay, yarn over, straight into that first stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and then continue going. Alright, you can continue on with your 70 rows now. Have now finished those 70 rows, and get a load of those colours, and it feels so lovely. I do like it. Now that you've finished your 70 rows, we're now going to be working along the side. You've done, there's your 50 rows that you've been working backwards and forwards on. And what we are going to do is turning onto the side. So that's the rows you're working on, and we're just going to turn onto the side. And we are going to work 50 stitches along here, which is 50 rows. So count your 50 rows down and put a stitch marker. Now that you have done that, so there's my stitch marker, and I am going to put a stitch at the top of every row. So a half double crochet stitch at the top of every row. So your first one is chain 1 and go into the top of this stitch, sorry, this row, yarn over and straight into the top of the row, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go into the top of the next row, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and keep repeating this at the top of every row until you have 30 stitches. Now it doesn't matter if it's exactly on top of the row or not, you just need to make this as even as possible all the way along. So once you have done your 50 stitches, I will meet you back here and show you what to do next. Okay, so I've now done my 50 stitches, and if you have a look, I did come short of the stitch marker. That is absolutely okay. Just make sure that your stitches are evenly placed along and that you have 50 of them. So I'm going to move this stitch marker, and I'm going to move that to the end of this row that I just created, because that is my first row of my second panel. So what we're doing is making this panel again along the side. So it will create an L shape. So this is one panel, and then this is going to go this way to be the second panel. And then when we finish that, we sew the two together. So what I need you to do now is continue your half double crochet rows for 70 rows in total. So we've done row number 1. So now we have to do another 69 rows. So do your 69 rows of half double crochet, which is pretty much just copying exactly what you did for this first panel. All right, so when you've done the remainder of your 70 rows, so another 69 rows, I will meet you back here and show you what to do next. Okie dokie, now I finished my second part, so I've created my L now. So there's the long 70 rows I've just done, and that's where we connected this panel to this panel. So now I've got this long panel here, but as you can see, you can only see the 20 rows that are left there. The long side's over here, short side along there. Hope that all makes sense, but I am going to put a picture up, and it'll show you the L shape and where it will be sewing this edge to this edge. Now where you've finished, don't end that off. Just grab a stitch marker and put that in there like so, so you don't lose it and unravel, and leave that because we're coming back to that because we need to do a border, and may as well stay there and not restart your yarn. So we'll come back to that in a minute, but firstly we need to lie your work out like so in the L, and once again photo should be up here, and we're taking this short side. So when you're looking at the long ways, there's your 50 stitches, there's your 70 rows. This is where we connected the other panel to, and therefore you should have the 20 rows left here. Have it facing like that, and then you're grabbing the bottom of this and twiddling it around like so. So there's the bottom of your L, and you twiddle it like so. So this corner comes into the middle and will make your head when it's sewn up. So again, there's the L, there's the long side, there's the short side, there's your 50 stitches down the bottom. Grab the other end of it and grab the other end of your other panel, and that's where you'll start connecting. There's the two, and you will sew along this end here, and it should leave you with your head hole. Now that very long lead that you left right when you started, that's what you're going to sew up with. So grab your yarn needle and put that on there, and then we are going to sew the edge together. So put your needle in, and just keep going all the way along. Now don't be tight. If you want, you can, if you want, your 50 stitches along here, count 50 rows along there, and then you'll have your head hole here. You can do that, or you can just go it by eye. I'm doing it by eye, but make sure to keep it, don't do it tight, just keep it nice and loose and relaxed. Alright, I'm going to finish doing this, and I'll meet you back here and show you what we do next. We've come to the end of the sewing, and now we just need to just end off your yarn. Just snip that off. And now you need to turn your garment inside out. Now we want the seam on the inside now, and there's your head hole. Now the size of your head hole could be large, could be small, it just depends how it all works out. Mine's looking quite large, which is ideal because when you put the polo neck on there, you want it nice and loose. You don't want it stuffed, oh, well, unless you do want it stuffed up around your neck. And if that's the case, before you finished off, you should check your head hole and keep sewing up more and more. Just keep sewing up until you've got the head hole that you like. Now that we've got that head hole and we've got it now the right way around, once again, it's very hard to show you how it looks, but go down to the bottom and go to where you put that stitch marker in to hold your yarn so it didn't unravel. Take your stitch marker out, find where you put your hook, put your hook back in, now chain one and turn your work to the side. Doing half double crochets, we're going to do a half double crochet into the top of every row. So you'll see that it is rows all the way along this edge, and you'll work your way all the way around. When you come to the bottom edge, it'll be quite easy to put your stitches in because you're just continuing on top of the 50, you know, where we always have been doing our work, and you just put a stitch straight in there. But when you're doing the edge that's along the rows, just put a stitch at the top of each row. So you can see here, there's the row, there's a row, there's a row, there's a row, so on and so forth. And you just yarn over and straight into the top of the stitch, the row. Now you're on a corner here. The trick on the corner is to do 2 stitches in the corner stitch. So because I'm on a corner, I'm going to go yarn over again and go straight back into that stitch and do my second half double crochet into the stitch. So there are only 2 corners on this, so you need to do the double stitches in the corner for each row. So for this row, so we've done the stitch there, so we're going to go into the top of here and do the next stitch, the top of the next row and do the next stitch, and so on and so forth. So what I actually find is, I hope you can see there, you'll see there's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole, there's a hole, so on and so forth as you go along, and I go into every second hole. Now sometimes it can be a bit tricky, like this one here doesn't look like it's got a hole, but just pull it apart so you can see together, pull it apart, and you can see there's the second hole. So I go, I've done that hole there, miss that hole, go into this hole. Miss that hole, go into that hole. Miss that hole, go into that hole. And that's how I get mine to be really even as I go around. Alright, I'll leave you to put in the rest of the stitches, and I will meet you back at the other corner just so we can run through that again. We are at the stitch on the corner, so do your yarn over and go into that corner stitch. Grab a yarn, pull it through, grab a yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook, Then yarn over and straight back into that same stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So you should now have 2 half double crochets in that corner stitch. And then just continue doing exactly what you were doing before, putting your half double crochets down the next edge. When you have finished that, I will meet you back at the end of the row and show you how we continue on. We've come to the end of that row, and all we simply need to do is just keep going. When you reach the end, I would suggest that you get that stitch marker and put it at the start of that row, or the end of the row, start of the row, just so you know that that's row number 1 and you don't get yourself lost. And all you're going to do is just continue going. Now we're at the corner, so remember you're doing 2 half double crochets in that corner stitch, and then just keep going all the way around with your half double crochets in every single stitch. Now you need to do 4 rows of that, so we've done row number 1, you're starting row number 2, and then you'll need another 2 rows after that to make a total of 4 rows of half double crochet. Just remember that when you get to the corner, you need to put 2 of your half double crochets in the corner stitch, and just keep going around and around till you got your 4 rows. And when you get back here on your 4th time, I will show you what we do next. Okay, so now we've finished our 4 rows, and what we need to do is slip stitch into the next stitch. So just put your hook straight in, grab your yarn and pull it straight through, and pull it through your stitch on the hook. Snip the end off, pull it through, and sew that in. You can remove your stitch marker. And now what you need to do is turn your garment inside out, and we are doing the neck. You can take out any stitch markers that you have still remaining and go near one of the V's. Put your hook in, get your yarn and attach your yarn however you attach your yarn. Chain 1, and now we're going to do the same thing as what we did for the edging that we just did around our poncho, and we're making a polo neck, so we're doing just many more rows. So we're doing half double crochet still, and we are still creating, this row is creating our stitches around the edge. So doing exactly the same principle as what you did when you did your edging. Create stitches. Now the amount of stitches that you will create is purely up to you. There is no hard and fast rule however many stitches. Just make sure that it is even all the way around, and what you end up with is what you end up with. Now when you come to the V, a little trick to make it nice and even is in every hole that you see, go yarn over, put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through. In the next hole, put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through. And in the next hole, put your hook in, grab your yarn and pull it through. Now grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on your hook. And what that is going to do is pull all the stitches around that V and make it look more curved and even. Now continue on doing your stitches evenly around your neck, and when you get to that other V, I'm going to show you how to do that again. Okay, so now we're at the other V, so yarn over, put your hook in, grab the yarn, pull it through. Next stitch, put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then next stitch or next hole, put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on your hook, and continue creating your stitches until you get to the end of the row. I'm back at the beginning. Now at this point I'm wanting to grab my stitch marker again and mark the beginning of that row. And we are going to be working in the round again, going around and around and around. So your next row is going to start by just entering straight into the top of that stitch we just marked. And you are going to keep going around and around and around until you have created 15 rows. So hence why the stitch marker is there. So now I can count my 15 rows, and once you have finished your 15 rows, come back here and I will show you what to do next. Okay, at the end of that last 15th row, now we do a slip stitch into the next stitch and then snip off the end and pull it through and then tie in all your ends. So tie in all the ends that you have created and then turn your work inside out so it now becomes the right way around. And I will tie in my ends in a minute. And then there is your roll neck or your polo neck or your turtleneck. And let's have a look at what it looks like when it's hanging up. So as you can see, it can be worn two ways. So you have this option or you have this option. So I hope your poncho has turned out to be as beautiful as this one. I'm loving the color range of this yarn. It is just so beautiful, and then also the option that you can blend it with whatever color that you like to get the effect that you like. So there is an endless different ways you can make the colors for this poncho. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, please like, subscribe, share, comment and all that good stuff. I hope you check out any of my other tutorials. I have many on my YouTube channel, and hopefully I get to see you there sometime very soon. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial, and have a fantastic day. Thank you everyone. Bye everyone.